Thank you everyone for joining for this session. My name is Alay Raza. I am working as a CISO in National Bank. This is my honor to be the moderator of this panel. We have got very interesting mix of participants from different areas, from different sectors, from microfinance bank to capital market company and the international bank as well. So I will give them podium to introduce themselves. But before that, I will tell you something about role of CISO. The topic is CISO redefined. So this is CISO's role is actually not what we can say is a revolutionary role. It's an evolution. It has taken a long time to be there where it is right now. It used to be a unicorn role, and at that time, the CISO role is mostly looking after the operational aspect of that. Now we have came a long way for what we are right now as CISO of any modern organization, whether it's a bank or FMCG or commercial institution or public institution. So without wasting any time, I will ask my panel members to introduce themselves. I will start with Amir. Amir, please introduce yourself
Hi
and
all.
something background.
I'm Amir Siddiqui. I'm working in the domain of information security from last 10 years. I have a total experience of 16 years. I've been to CISO for 3 organizations. This is my third one. Presently, I'm working for U Microfinance Bank, Pakistan. I'm based in Islamabad. And majorly, I have worked in the all domains of information security or cybersecurity, you must say. I worked in the area of governance. I worked in the area of penetration testing and vulnerability assessment, both on the offensive and security operations side. It's nice to see you all over here, and we will be sharing our knowledge with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Amir. Now we have Murtaza. Murtaza is a CISO in a multinational bank, a very famous multinational bank, which is based out of Middle East. Murtaza, say something about yourself.
Hello, everyone. I have been working in information security for more than 12 to 13 years. I've worked in different sectors, as in I've recently joined, not recently, like 4 years ago, I joined this bank. Before that, I was in telecommunication. I have worked in petrochemical companies as an information security consultant. Uh, Before that, I was a QA consultant, and I've got a very varied mixture of everything. And I see information security through the eyes of all these different sectors. And I found dissimilarities between them. Some people are doing something and some people are doing something else. So I'm going to get into it in my when the discussion is going to start. But my background is not just one sector, but it's a varied sector that I look into. And information security has been my core passion, as people would say. Ale, to you.
Excellent. Yeah, that's good. Excellent insight about you, Murtaza. Now I will invite Hassan Aslam. He is representing capital market. He is CISO of CDC, which is Central Depository Company of Pakistan. Hassan, something about yourself?
Thank you, Ale. My name is Syed Hassan Aslam, and I am CISO of Central Depository Company of Pakistan. The Central Depository Company is the centerpiece of the capital market of any country. So in Pakistan, CDC settles all the trades which happen in the stock exchange and any off-market transactions. We are also the largest trustee of mutual funds. So collectively, we manage digital assets worth 40 billion worth of US dollar. So in a nutshell, with a background with software engineering and coming from a background of consulting, I bring with myself the holistic view, which in information security, it is no more about IT technology security only. It has now overspilled into business risk and fraud. So the holistic approach is where CDC now excels at.
Excellent, excellent, Hassan. So I will let you guys a little bit more about myself. I am working, as I told you, as CISO in National Bank. I am here for the last 3 years, but overall I have got around 21 years of experience. I have worked in a variety of different roles, including CIO role, partner information security, technology consultants. I worked with international agencies, financial institutions, and donor agencies as well. So what I will do now is I will start the difficult part, which is to ask questions with our panelists, and we will have a mutual discussion, which will be benefiting for all of us as well as our audience. So Murtaza, what do you think? Why today's information security is it doesn't work, and how we want to improve it further? So this is a very, it's a $1 million question. So this question, I think you are in a better position to explain and reply. So it's over to Murtaza.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Properly.
It's yeah, it's
Okay.
quite clear.
I just want to explain why information security right now is so ineffective in stopping breaches. And it's not stopping the breaches, and we are hearing about these breaches in the media very prevalently. But the costs are going up every time. The budgets every year that we procure our budgets are example of how I saw it, and I read this example in a book, so I just want to share that with you. Uh, let's assume that we have a junction box in our house, and it tends to blow up every now and then. So we call in an electrician, and that electrician would be like, okay, we need to change the junction box. And every time we change that junction box, and it blows up. Now, the recommendation of the consultants, as I would say, would be, okay, let's upgrade the junction box. Maybe the power the consumption is high. That's why it's breaking down. And we keep on doing that. And this is what information security is like. We keep on changing our junction box rather than checking what is wrong with and why is it breaking down. Now the problem of the example was that the reason why the junction was breaking down was not because of the power surge. It was because there was a leaked water pipe, but nobody thought about it. Everybody was like, no, the problem is the junction box is failing. Let's bring in a newer, better, more expensive industrial massive junction box and just place it over there. But that failed too, because the underlying problem that we had was there was a water leak, and nobody was checking that. And this is what we are doing in information security. What we are doing right now is we are procuring these brand new tools, and we are placing it in our organization, and we are not checking that these brand new tools are bringing overhead to our infrastructure. I've been in information security for a very long time, and we always used to hear initially that information security encompasses these three models these three principles, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Everybody is going to agree with that. But right now, what I feel is information security is so much focused on confidentiality that we're forgetting about integrity and availability. We're putting in these tools, and these tools what is happening is I'm from an organization, or for that matter, all the organization cannot keep on changing our assets every year. There's a 5-year cycle to everything. if we keep on propping in new tools, that they bring in load to the organization and things start slowing down, then the users keep on complaining. So the availability part comes in. But I think information security as a whole is not thinking about that. Now that I want to look into it from a different aspect as well. The same mentality uh, that prevailed with the junction box example. Uh, I want to see that our responsibilities change a little bit. That I want to see them not very resource orientation or spending more money towards buying in new tools to secure our stance. I want to see more effort from CISOs to get into the IT operational bit, get their hands dirty, as it would be. We need to go and look into asset management, what kind of assets we are running. We need to go into configuration management. We need to see if our configurations are hardened or if they're not. We need to go into patch management. I do understand this is a separate uh, domain, and IT operations usually looks into it. But as a CISO, I feel we need to get into this. This is where the problem is. If you look at all the back hacks, everyone, uh, they all had these problems. They all had these IT processes which were either breaking down or were not there. So
I think Murtaza has got some connection issue. So, taking it further, Murtaza, what I understand, what Murtaza is saying, that we have to CISOs, because CISO's role in a new construct is quite revolutionary as well as evolutionary, and we need to make sure that we are also doing the line one kind of business in the new construct, not only just doing the governance part. We need to make sure that we are part of the IT operations and doing the things ourselves, making our hands dirty, roll up the sleeves and doing things ourselves. So this is also like, kind of CISO role, and they are CISO that some of them are doing it, some of them are little reluctant on that. So taking this further, we need to redefine CISO's role in light of the new regulations. When we talk about regulation, we will Murtaza, you are back?
yeah, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
so yeah, it's all right. So you can continue.
Where did I get cut off? Because I was going on and on and on, and
No, you were cut off at that time where you were saying that, roll up your sleeve and actually working on the operation side and doing the things yourself instead of just doing sitting in the air conditioned office and governing it from there. So please carry on. Yeah.
I think that initially, no, all my colleagues would agree. Initially, we used to focus on making these policies, and we used to put our stock in our policies and our procedures and our guidelines, and then we used to check these guidelines and these procedures if they were working or if they're not working, and then we were going to the management, telling them that this is what is compliant, this is what is not compliant.
Yeah,
That is
that's true.
that is not enough anymore. That is what has changed.
So that's the new
We
normal. When
this,
you are saying this is actually related to our topic, which is new normal. Yeah.
this is our bread and butter. If anything happens to our organization, our necks are on the line. We are the
Yeah.
first ones to be asked what happened.
Yeah.
It's not IT or it's not IT operations. We do go over there. We do ask them, okay, what really went wrong? But we should be aware of what happened. Threat intelligence is something that we need to look into. We need to know what our enemies are doing. This is what has changed. This is what has changed for the that for me for 5 years. And this is how I look at it. We need to know exactly what things are happening in the world. And this is where
Yeah,
our partners can help. This is where other CISOs can help. This is where I want to see, and I have to thank CyberX for doing this. This is where I want to see all the CISOs from everywhere getting together, sitting down and saying, this is what we can do. This is how we can save our cost to the business. This is what we can build.
better. How can we justify our cost? Okay, so the gist of the conversation is that, like,
Yes, yes.
CISOs can act as first responders as well. When there is any incident or any mishap happens, then CISO should be there to analyze it from the perspective of doing it firsthand, because understanding the things, because they are things what I understand, which is the dilemma of all CISOs all over the world, is that when they know about any incident or anything which is going wrong in the organization, they are the last one to know about it. So like IT and risk and operations, everyone were having doing firefighting, and CISO, they are not doing it. So they have to be there should be change in the attitude. So taking this further, Murtaza, have you have anything else to add to your conversation, or I will ask some questions with to Amir Siddiqui?
I don't know. I took a lot of time. I think, yeah, please go ahead. Please ask someone else. I can butt in.
No,
If,
that is fine. No, that is fine. Like, no, your conversation is important, because when you are saying about what is the conventional role of the CISO versus what is the new norm of the CISO, what CISO should be doing by rolling up its sleeve and working actually at the scene as a first responder. So coming back to the topic, we have, like, one important aspect that is missing is actually how the CISO role is defined in light of the current regulations. And these regulations are not country specific. These regulations can be intercontinental kind of regulation, like GDPR, because GDPR is not impacted for any particular country or set of people. It's actually impacting all over the world. So I mean, my, like, kind of query or question is that, what do you see the role of CISO in light of the new regulations which are increasing day by day, related with the regulators, securities companies, with the different agencies, and international regulations like GDPR. So over to Amir.
Thank you so much, Ali. And Murtaza, thank you so much for the insight that you have shared. Taking forward and adding something to it, yes, CISO role is what we say some kind of misunderstood, and it totally depends on the size of organization and the business of organization. Means in some businesses, information security might not be that much risk burden, other than the industry that we have seen across. But after what has happened in 2020 post-pandemic situation, where most of the people are being asked to move to work from home, and major businesses who have their footprints on internet and mobile apps, they might have not suffered that much, or we may say that they have taken a benefit from the customers who are to the normal shop related, or they have their presence somewhere. So when business have now realized that they have to move towards technology, and when we move towards technology, we have to ensure that we have proper security in place. Your business would take it very seriously if someone can buy from their web application or mobile app, and they don't have to pay something, and they can book a card. So that could happen if their application has these vulnerabilities and all that. Now the smaller organizations now also coming towards having the role of security. At least they are maintaining a manager information security in there. And when we talk about different industries moving toward going digital, keeping a VPN to make sure that the employees can work from home, they are not starting to invest over the infrastructure to have these applications and all that. And when you develop infrastructure, definitely international regulatory compliance plays a very important role. Standards plays a very important role in defining these things. While we are dealing with this pandemic, we already have shortage of resources in cybersecurity, and this shortage creates a company who has not maintained any information security domain with themselves before may not have an idea what information security and what should a CISO or manager information security should do. Now, if you talk about a big organization or already working from information security things, and they have huge data, all international customers' data, and they have international footprint, so they have challenges from having a risk side, compliance side, operations side, ease of business side. Lot more factors define the information security posture that they have to keep. Now the dilemma gets up when businesses want information security or CISO to maintain a good security, but they are not accepting the risks. If CISO comes up with certain risk, that this is the risk, we need to invest this much to mitigate this risk. So management say we don't have budgets, we don't have resources, you have only 2 guys to work on, and those guys are not properly being trained. Information security is ever-changing landscape. You can't rely on 1-year-old knowledge. You have to keep yourself updated, and for keep yourself updated, you should have good budgets and you should have good staff with you, having paid well. If you will not pay them well, they will go somewhere else. So these are the challenges that are presently with the information security. Coming towards what you have asked about the regulations, international things, if you go into the regulations and all that, mostly you see similar areas. They say have a good governance in place, you should have policy, you should have a procedures, you should have security operations with you, you should have monitoring, you should have logs maintained on the infrastructure and servers and all that. So mostly the standards, whatever we go into, are targeting certain areas. And the experience that I have seen, mostly the security operations and the security governance. These are the 2 areas that you have to keep intact, and you will comply with all the international regulations or whatever they will be, or whatever changes they come into. If you have good governance, governance means you have good policies and procedures, you have good you can say dashboards being maintained, controls being established, your dashboards are properly communicated to the management. They are seeing it where the information security risks are increasing. When business get into certain new ventures, definitely security assessment has to be done. And when you do a security assessment, there comes new risk, or the old risk might get increased as well. So with the new ventures, you have to get into that as well. Business operations, CISO role, you can't confine it to a certain set of responsibilities. CISO has to get into every area these days. CISO has to sit with the business, have to evaluate their procedures, have to evaluate the business requirement of any new application getting in place. And security or CISO is not a one-man job. I say that security, and everyone else also will agree to that. CISOs or information security is everyone's responsibility. The job mainly lies with the CISO is to create an awareness among the senior management, among the PODs, among the staff, that what responsibilities they have and what risks are there if they will not abide to the responsibilities they have. If you talk about governance and monitoring, if you do your monitoring very well as per the international standard and best practices, I will say that you are covering every regulation and you are covering every part of it. If I am PCI DSS compliant, I might be doing a lot of things that are mentioned in ISO 27000 or GDPR. So the basics of CISO role is there, and if they are getting fulfilled and you are not giving your CISO into the job that if you can't ask CISO to perform a BCP. So BCP is very important perspective, but CISO's main job and main attention is towards having a good security posture for the organization, focusing on the risk that he has highlighted, working on the security operations side, getting into the incident management, properly maintaining incident logs, and having developing a correlation between what is happening and what could happen. So if CISO is focused 100% on security operations and maintaining risk that has been highlighted in the risk assessment activities, so he will protect your organization and he will give you better results in terms of revenues, because the customer retention is also a job of a CISO. If any organization has a data breach or been compromised or have a defacement attack at least, so that lose your customers as well. That lose the trust in the market as well. So customer retention is not only services job. Customer retention is also a CISO's role. And if you support your CISO with all the budgets, with all the resources, you understand him, you would not overburden him by highlighting the risk, absorbing the risk on himself, and not providing him the budget for the tools and technologies that he could use to mitigate that risk. So CISO will leave or work for 2 or 3 years and move towards a better organization. And it's your organization, it's the BOD senior management's organization that they have to move on towards the next stage, increasing the organization size, getting into the more business ventures. And if you're not focusing on securities after this pandemic situation, then you might be not in the business anymore. And you have seen in this year as well.
Thank you, Amir. That was very, very good, and it was an interesting discussion, because what the main takeaway from the discussion is that when you said that CISO is also responsible for some of the business decision, then it comes to my mind the role of the CISO. The role of the CISO is not only directing and controlling, but the main role of the CISO is how to align the business strategy with his own vision. So, or his own vision with the business strategy, vice versa. So the strategic alignment is very important, because normally people say, like 10 years ago, who will give importance to CISO for any business related decisions? Now, for every business, when we talk about CISO's role redefined in the last couple of years, now for every business, they ask CISO as well, that what is your take on on this business initiative? Is it secure enough to take it to market, go to market? So now the role of asking CISO for different input is very important. I remember, like, when I was working for some other bank 10 years back, board will never ask CISO for any technology related or technology governance, to be very precise, related decision. Now in my organization right now, for any technology governance related areas or any thing related with the risk assessment of technology, they will call CISO before calling CTO. So that is the new norm, how the things are changing in the present context, because they know that their reputational risk, their financial risk, and their overall business risk is at stake when they will not discuss it with CISO, because taking anything to the market without testing it from the security perspective, and if God forbids, if anything happened, then who will be responsible for that? So now they are taking CISO on board. So that what I called it as an evolution. Before, like, I don't say that CISO role is has been revolutionized in the last 3-4 years. It has been evolution, because it was trial and error, because there was like 2-3 years, 3 years, 4 years back, there was some mishaps happened, not in our country, but if you see in South Asia, if you see in Europe, if you see in
Yes.
America, if you remember the role of Equifax, where there was so much data was lost due to data breaches and inaction of CISO there. So they are now realizing the role of CISO. So when CISO is there, so CISO is not only looking at the confidentiality, integrity, and availability part of the information. Now it's looking at the data governance, how the data is used. This is now the new paradigm, because usage, how your data is used in the organization. This came into prominence, especially after you see GDPR related regulation. Before that, it was already there in US in GLBA. Every year, the banks in US has to report their cybersecurity and information security and their impact on the business, reporting to board, to the head office every year, even it was before GDPR, and otherwise they are liable for big penalties. With the GDPR, the importance of personal identifiable information and making sure that how the data is used within the organization, and the data that is used within the organization is as important as the data theft or data stealing, because how the organization is using the data. For example, take the example of Facebook, take the example of Google. Although they are not breaching your data, but they are using your data for different purposes. We have seen it recently. So this will bring me to my next participant, Hassan, that how we what is the role of CISO in improving the overall data governance, you can say posture of the organization, how the data is used in the organizations, what kind of data repositories there, how we will make sure that data is safe and data is used for what it is meant to be. So over to Hassan, please
Thank
carry
you,
on.
Ale. Ale, if you look at the past 10 years, you would notice how technology has evolved. Given a simple fact that the world population is 7.8 billion, while by 2020, the number of distinct devices connecting to internet is more than 50 billion. So that's more than 6 times the population. Also, last decade, you have seen CISO's reporting line changing from to CTO to CEO to board. And now one of the surveys done by Deloitte specifically now states that majority of the CISOs are now, their reporting lines are changing from technology to a business function. And that not only to the risk. In fact, if you look at this change is practically resulting into hyperconnectivity, and with the wave of digitalization and fintechs coming up, so the risk is evolving also. Previously, we used to have attacks where the attacks used to be only technical in nature. Now it is all about frauds, digital frauds. So when you have digital experience, you have a digital fraud. So now CISOs have to use data. From what I gather from Murtaza and Amir's account, obviously there is a lot of engagement which CISO has to do. Not in terms of only the technology function, but now CISO has to work with the risk, he has to work with the business departments, and the data they collect from the business departments is not only about risk, it's about the user experience, what products they are designing or trying to launch, so that you actually move the whole security one leg behind in the pipeline. So whenever there's a new product launch or a new concept being or a new marketing campaign being designed, the CISO's input is now required. And that's pretty normal in terms of how the risk is evolving and how the world is getting impacted by cyber attacks. So in fact, the data which typically is used in security is usually negative data. Like if I talk technically, you will always look at firewall denials, but not on the firewall allow. So what you can gain from such data, the positive data, is to learn about how the different, how the behavior is getting, is evolving over the time, and how you can glean intelligence out of that. So unless you know the norm, you can't identify the abnormal. So this is how the data is being used. Now, coming over to the regulations and how data is used and governed within the organization, obviously with ever more increasing applications and organizations capturing personal data, obviously the responsibility comes from a regulatory point of view also. So that has to be taken care while you are monitoring or you are engaging with the customer. You are obviously, you have the responsibility to protect, and that's where the frameworks come in. So the framework, if I talk about CDC, back in 2009, we actually opted to go for ISO certification. And at that point in time, we enhanced our scope to all of our business departments. So our ISO certification was not limited to technology functions only. It covered the depository, it covered the trustee, it covered the RTF business, and our back office accounting business. So the holistic approach is what is now required, is the new norm. Like one of the panelists, I think, mentioned the new norm about COVID and work from home. Previously, a lot of organizations didn't used to think about the work from home is even feasible. Now we were all pushed into working from home, and working from home has a different set of challenges. So apart from technical challenges, the how to secure a VPN, there are challenges about where the user is working, about the confidentiality, and how an employee has to maintain their awareness, what sorts of frauds are being done. I think when we go about digital, or we are tapping into a market, let's say microfinance market. So microfinance is a different market. Banking sector has evolved. Microfinance bank targets a different population. So that population has to be made aware, or the risk parameters, or the security strategy has to target those population which can get affected by any cyber attack. The frauds getting digital, for example, that would in turn reflect on the organization. So it's no more about technology. And if you look at this from a perspective, CISO's job is now to sell the idea of security and to develop a common language which the board understands, the business unit understands, the risk understands, and the CEO understands. And last but not least, the technology functions also understand. So it is sort of a bridge between different functions so that the overall security posture is maintained. If you look also at the recent NIST password guideline, I think that was issued a couple of years back. That was one example where NIST as an organization is also refocusing on how to secure passwords. So not coming from a background that the password should have alphanumeric and the authentication should be hard to guess. They are not referring to longer password phrases. That is easier to remember and more effective in providing the security. Have a phrase that's, let's say, my name is Hassan Aslam. And that is pretty much very difficult to guess for any, that should be difficult to guess by a hacker or even to crack with any technology. So if we look at the overall spectrum, it is shifting. And with that shift, the CISO's role also shifts. No more a technology specific issue. Recent attacks, you have seen, it's all driven by financial motives. It is driven by reputation motives. For example, we see there are a lot of talk about the ransomware, and the only motive is to earn money. For example, ransomware demands certain amount of money. So apart from doing the cyber risk management and the background security operations, which includes the penetration testing, security review, and the day-to-day monitoring, we have to work on the external side, which is how the business is perceiving the security and what value we are adding to the business bottom line. So this evolving nature is in terms of, if you look at the spectrum, the CISO now has to be multifunctional and has to address a lot more challenges. For example, if we implement a security control which downright makes a product unusable, so that is not which is now demanded by any management or any board. So we have to come up with new ideas to secure yet retain the usability and the user experience. So
that's good. Sorry to interrupt, Hassan. Yeah, I will back to my question. Like, CDC, as what I understand, is a capital market company, and it has it has been trusted to manage the shares of the stock you can say stock buyers, and you guys are actually custodian of the trust of their shares,
True.
and you are doing the share accounting. So how you manage the security around it, and what is the data security related strategies or policies in force in the central depository company? Because I am sure that a lot of our users are very interested in that. So if
True.
you put some light on that, I will be obliged.
Wonderful. So you're right that as capital market entity, we retain the data of all of our investors. In fact, the worth of security is more than 40 billion US dollar. So once we started our journey back in 1997, when we transformed the physical handling of shares to digital handling or digital transformation, it started the journey, and from there on, the security was built in. And over the years, the technology framework has evolved. And in 2009, when we adopted ISO 27001 certificate, we went through a holistic study of gap analysis of what are the risks and how those can be filled up. So the prime focus is always the confidentiality and the security of the digital assets. Now, stock exchange, whenever there is a trade happening on stock exchange, it is very tightly coupled with the National Clearing Company and the CDC. So within capital market, these three organizations work hand in hand. So once any asset, let's say a share or a debt instrument gets traded over stock exchange, it is settled at NCCP level, and the final custody is maintained with the central depository. And this actually checks back the whole triangle. So there are backend processes which do a daily reconciliation where every trade and settlement is double checked that it happened on our instruction by the investor.
Okay. Okay, that's good. So, what I will, I will make the summary of whatever you guys have said on different aspects of information security, and especially the role of the CISO that is redefined in the modern days. So, I will start with Habib Siddiqui. Habib Siddiqui has given, thoughts on the light of increasing implication of the regulation, especially regulations related with the cyber security, information security from the central bank, from other agencies. So he has actually discussed that these regulations are very important, and it makes sure that the CISOs are actually have got something to carry around, and something they want to stick with it. Because although these regulations, sometimes CISOs, they feel that these regulations are against them, but when you see them, actually they are actually help you in achieving your targets. And these are the documents, the regulation that you can take to your board or your management forum, and you can use these regulations and circulars and the caveats that these are the things, these are the directions that where we want to go. So that's what actually the summary of what Amir Siddiqui was saying. Similarly, Hassan was saying about the use of, you yourself was saying about the use of how the data is used within the organization, and you guys are custodian of the trust and how you use the data. And Murtaza was more about hands-on approach, that CISOs should not only be sitting in the air-conditioned office as a new norm. They should be going and doing the thing themselves, and making sure that everything is done properly, and they must be knowing what is going on. So actually, on the basis of that, the conclusion is that CISO's role is no more a unicorn role. CISO is now doing multiple things. Is working with business, is directing, is controlling. So, which is very fascinating and exciting times ahead for CISO. So, thank you for everyone. Our time is over, and it was a very interesting and fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you
Have a
everyone
good
for a
day.
wonderful session.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you. Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Thank you.
Thank you.